The hell? What is going on? Okay. That's better. So I'm going to do this experimental music vinyl tag started by Alex at Motorik 24/7. Motorik 24/7 365. That's what I like to call him. Just, you know, he goes just another level beyond 24/7, really. You know, he doesn't give himself enough credit. So anyway, I was going to do a purely pop music edition of this. I also tried to maybe answer every single prompt with a spoon song, and I came very close. I couldn't do spoken word. I could have cheated and maybe answered that one. And I'm not completely sure if they've actually used a moog. Let's just move on. Okay, prompt number 1, improvised music. As a lot of people that have entered have said, oh, well, you know, you could, and jazz, you know. Elliot Cruz did a bluegrass album. I could have done that. Thing is, I wanted to try and find something that I might have that is totally improvised, like start to finish. I don't have a lot of that in my collection. And a lot of the bluegrass jazz albums that I have are partly composed and then just kind of, you know, improvised in the solos. But I've been putting my collection in Discogs, and I realized that, oh yeah, I have this. This is called Look by Blake Mills. This came out in 2018. This is an EP. Blake Mills is best known these days as a producer that works with a lot of kind of contemporary artists. But he also does a lot of session work over the years as a guitarist. And he's got his own solo albums, and many of them quite good. Now, this is interesting because this is something that was never intended to be released. And I'll read quickly just a short blurb of the short liner note in here, just so that I'm accurate. The music on Look was not created with the intention of ever being heard. In the spring of 2017, I discovered a small collection of vintage guitar synthesizers that Roland made at the end of the 1970s. These machines were totally unfamiliar to me, but immediately intuitive and inspiring. Since they rarely produce the same results twice, my process of learning how to play these instruments was through recording them with Joseph Lorge at Boulevard Studios and Sound City Studios in Los Angeles. It's interesting, and you can tell that it's purely improvised. It's very ambient, but it's, you know, it's interesting. It's cool. So yeah, worth having, or I mean, to me, worth keeping, because I'm a big Blake Mills fan. Second prompt, a moog synthesizer, something that uses moog. I'm going to go with Panda Bear. Panda Bear versus Grim Reaper. This is Panda Bear's third solo album. Panda Bear from Animal Collective. This album was co-produced and mixed by Sonic Boom of Spaceman 3 fame. There is a Moog Voyager used throughout, as well as a wide variety of synthesizers and effects. And, you know, it's a very cool album, though. I will say, when I first got it, that it wasn't as immediate as his previous two solo albums, but with more and more time, I've grown to really love this one. Field recordings. Now, this is an album that I talked about in my favorites of 2021. This is Karima Walker, Waking the Dreaming Body. Now, there's a lot of kind of folk and Americana compositions here, but there's also a lot of ambient music, touches of electronics, and their field recordings. One track is just the sound of cars like zooming by. It sounds like someone's sitting in their car as traffic is just passing. So it's just like that. And it goes on for like 4 or 5 minutes, which I thought was very interesting. There's also some nice capturing the sound of wind that's mixed in with some ambient music very nicely. It's an album that she finished in quarantine, and it feels it's like an album of isolation, and the field recordings really fit that mood. I have other like Americana or folk albums that like throw in the sound of rain or crickets and shit. But that was far more interesting. I don't really have a lot of other field recorded stuff. Maybe something very short from like Godspeed or Mogwai or something. Who knows? Drone. For Drone, I'm going with Bradford by Bradford from 1996. The post-rock experimental ambient band out of Richmond, Virginia. I really like this one. It gets really out there at times, but then they also kind of rein it in with kind of more straightforward post-rock. But Bradford is they're really daring band. On Cranky, a lot of people have been showing stuff off Cranky, and I've been diving in a little deeper into 90s Cranky recently, so thought I would show this. Spoken Word. Again, I probably could have gone with some post-rock for this. And I'm gonna show, this is just a good excuse for me to show this album, because I haven't talked about this album on camera. The opening song, the opening track of this, Bout Soul, Jackie McLean. It's a poem, and it's recited by Barbara Simmons. And the music is credited to Gratian Moncur III. Now, I picked this up on a whim at Horizon Records in Greenville, and I was very glad that I decided to take a risk on it. It does not sound anything like the album cover. It looks like a soul jazz album, you know, from like the mid-'60s. Not the case at all. It gets really out there. It's very avant-garde, and it's got Woody Shaw, Gratian Moncur III, Jackie McLean, Lamont Johnson, Scotty Holt, Rashid Ali on drums. Yeah, and he's a madman throughout this thing. It's fantastic. The story behind this is that Barbara Simmons had seen Jackie McLean live. She wanted to read this poem to him, and he decided we wanted to get her into the studio and record under it. And it's kind of hokey, I'll be honest. It's very 60s kind of beat, but not like, I don't know. There are moments where it's kind of hokey to me. So it's not for everybody, but the music accompaniment is pretty cool. So again, it's just an excuse to show that because I've really enjoyed listening to that album recently. Processed vocals, Medulla by Bjork. An album comprised of vocals, pretty much nothing but. I mean, there's some programming and electronics that kind of fill in a little bit here or there, but it's like 95, at least 95% vocals. And then those vocals are programmed and processed through filters. But it's one of my favorite Bjork albums. And immediately the first thing I thought of when he said that it could be processed vocal and not just instrument. So I went with that. So there's your pop music. Pop music. Someone that's on the Nurse with Wound list. Actually, there's a wide variety on the Nurse with Wound list, and there were lots of people that I could have shown, but well over half that list still I'm probably not even familiar with. Maybe half that list, I would say. But I've been exploring Germany, long overdue, but exploring Germany a lot this year, and outside of what I knew already, which is pretty much just Can and Kraftwerk. But, I'm on Duel 2. This is Wolf City. This is a reissue of Wolf City that I picked up earlier this year online from a seller on Discogs that I really like. And I was buying 2 albums from them specifically, and then saw this, decided to add it on. So yeah, that's the only Almond Duel 2 album or Almond Duel album that I have, but I'm looking to get some more now. And then finally, toy instruments. This was the one that I thought of. I might have other examples, but this is the one that I thought of because they are prominent. These 2 toy instruments are prominently used throughout. I wonder if Alex even knows what I'm thinking. Maybe. Just knowing what I might have in my collection of the indie rock vein. Indie rock classic from 2003, The Unicorns. Who Will Cut Our Hair When We're Gone? And they prominently use toy piano and toy organ throughout. It's not just 1 or 2 tracks. It's on several tracks throughout the album. There's also like the use of a recorder. That's not, really a toy instrument, obviously. But it's a beginner instrument. Penny whistle. Slide whistle, I think. This is just such a fun album. I still love it to this day. It's too hooky to be avant-garde or experimental. But it's also random enough and quirky enough that it's not really straight pop music. But there are some brilliant hooks on here. It's 2 really young guys taking on themes of mortality through a very humorous lens. And I think it's fantastic. Okay, so that's it. I did it. Now you can get off my back, Alex. I expect full ridicule from all the snobs in the vinyl community. And I hope everybody else is doing well. And we'll talk to you later. Okay, bye.
Digital gramophone makes no sense.